I've been specializing in hormone and thyroid health for over a decade now, but this work started long before that. It started with me. Looking back, I now know I was dealing with an undiagnosed thyroid condition, likely from a very young age. For years, I fought my body, wondering why weight loss was impossible, no matter what I did, why I was constantly exhausted, and why even light exercise felt like I was dragging bricks behind me. And then, after pregnancy, everything got worse. My symptoms intensified, and still, I had no answers. That's what led me down this path. Now, after more than 10 years in this space, I can confidently say this. When it comes to thyroid treatment, things haven't improved at all. And in many ways, they've actually gotten worse, especially here in Canada. We're limited in what we can test. Doctors are often restricted to only ever measuring TSH. And that's where the investigation stops. No deeper digging, no full picture. And that's exactly why so many women are still suffering, which is why today's conversation matters. Joining me is one of my closest friends and one of the most trusted voices in thyroid health, Dr. Amie Hornaman. She's been on the show more times than I can count, 6 or 7, I think, at this point, probably more than any other guest. She's not afraid to challenge the system and push for better care for thyroid patients. Dr. Amie is the CEO and founder of the Advanced Thyroid and Hormone Clinic, serving patients across US and Canada. She's also the host of the top-rated podcast, The Thyroid Fixer, and now, finally, she's released her first book, The Thyroid Fix, the no-nonsense guide to fix fatigue, fogginess, and fat that won't budge. The book I wish I had over 10 years ago. And this book is what all thyroid patients need, because the truth is no one is coming to save you when it comes to your thyroid. You have to advocate for yourself. You have to understand what's going on in your body. Otherwise, you will stay stuck. Dr. Amie is on a mission to change that, to give patients the tools, the knowledge, and the confidence to finally take control of their health. And this book is going to help you do that. So if you've ever been told your labs are normal, but you feel anything but, this episode is for you. So welcome back to the show for who knows how many times now, Dr. Amie.
I can't believe that, because I know I've shared on a past episode, but that you were the first podcast that I was on ever. Like, I was all geeked out when you wrote back to me, like, yeah, you can come on my podcast. I'm like, oh my God. I've been like fangirling you forever. And now we're like amazing friends. So it's so much fun.
Really is. And I just love having a sidekick that understands thyroid, because I feel like they're so few and far between, even in the functional space. Like for doctors, naturopaths, and I'm not dissing anybody. It's like the education just isn't out there. And it hasn't gotten better. I don't know, like you're in the trenches way more than I am with thyroid. What right now in 2026 is your experience with thyroid in the medical world? Like, are you seeing that things are getting better or what?
Yeah, they're really not. So, I was misdiagnosed 27 years ago, something like that. And it's really still no different today. I mean, women, you see it in your clinic, I see it in mine. Women coming in, they're on T4 only, they don't have the full testing done. They're told that that's all they need. And I do actually have a section in the book where I talk about, like you mentioned, functional medicine, where, I feel like this needs to be said to the masses, because we have functional medicine now coming in. That's great. It goes deeper, looks for the root cause, does most of the time, does all the testing, thinks outside the box. However, I'm also seeing it as like a marketing term. And people are saying like, oh yeah, I do functional medicine and charge you thousands of dollars. And then I will still see the labs that this so-called functional practitioner ordered, no reverse T3, sometimes a free T3. They're still not getting it. Exactly what you said. They're still not getting it. And it really is because, as you know, the thyroid is nuanced. It really takes that deep level of knowledge and looking at the person as an individual, personalizing their protocol to really get them optimized. It can't be this one size fits all formula.
No. And I think we're seeing more and more hypothyroidism and undiagnosed hypothyroidism. Probably my guess is the environment that we're in, especially for women. We know it's a lot more common in women to have hypothyroidism. Is this, do you think, because we are just bombarded by toxins, but also our stress levels as women have changed so much that we're having these problems with thyroid or immune system? Like, where do you think this is coming from?
I agree with you. I think it is. We're living in a toxic soup environment and we are under more stress now. My gosh, even than like 20, 30, 40 years ago, we're under way, way, way more stress. And by that I mean, pressure to look good, pressure to multitask. As women, we're pressured to make money and be career people, but take care of our family. And oh, you have to do this self-care thing too, and make sure you're biohacking and red lighting and exercising and eating well, but also make sure you get all your shit done in the day too. I mean, that's a lot of pressure for a woman. It really is.
We just all have to be superwoman. That's it. That's our
Exactly. And the
option.
thyroid doesn't like that. The thyroid does not like when you're superwoman. So really the thyroid is a canary in the coal mine. It tells us when something isn't quite right in our bodies. And that could be, hey, you need to look at your stress. You need to look at the toxins in your environment, what you're putting on your skin, what you're putting in your body. And sometimes it's as simple as you're a woman, you're going through perimenopause and menopause. I know we talked about that, or you had a separate episode on thyropause, where yeah, it's that thing that occurs as we move into midlife, and as your hormones start to downshift and fall off a cliff. The thyroid presents itself as a problem. It's like that Hashimoto switch turns from the opposition to the on position, and now a woman has a thyroid problem in addition to low hormones.
I see this, I would say probably 50% of the time in labs with women and going through perimenopause that have never had a known thyroid problem before. And so they think, oh, well, I don't need to test my thyroid. I've had that tested before in the past and I'm fine. But then it's on our lab. So we test it either way. And then we discover, actually, there is a problem here. And do you see that happening in your clinic as well?
Mhm. Yep, and it's classic. It's the woman that said, "Oh yeah, my doctor said my thyroid was fine." She could have had it tested last week or a year ago, and she's just
Right.
hanging on to, my doctor said my thyroid is fine. It's normal. It's fine. And I go, well, we don't use that word to describe your thyroid function. We want it to be optimal. So fine and normal doesn't cut it. Normal is a setting on the dryer. It shouldn't be used to describe your labs. So yes, you're absolutely right. Either a woman will have it in her mind, like, well, it's not my thyroid because my doctor said it was okay. Or she was just tested so long ago. Our bodies change, especially as women. Our bodies change by the month. Like your body right now isn't the same body it was a month ago if you're over the age of 40. So we have to stay on top of things. We have to pay attention to our body and our signals that it's giving us, and listen to it and test and retest and test and retest. If you have something going on, you need to look deeper and figure out what exactly is going on so that you can address it.
Weight gain being the symptom that women just like they will not tolerate, right? Like we as women will take on so much stuff, like so much pain and
Yeah.
agony and suffering, and we'll be like, oh, hot flashes, night sweats, I'm not sleeping, I've got anxiety, my period's super heavy, I'm this, I'm that. But they'll deal with it from day to day, and they just will like, oh, I'll put up with this because we've got to be tough. But as soon as that woman gains weight, it's like it's like, no way, I'm not taking this. Why am I gaining weight? And we talk a lot about, estrogen deficiency driving that weight gain, but so much of that is also the thyroid being impacted. So can you explain how the thyroid interacts with things like blood sugar and insulin and metabolism?
Okay. So the thyroid, I have a saying, from head to toe, it runs the show. So if you think of your brain function, your hair, your mood, your cognition, the outer corners of your eyebrows, your skin dryness, your throat swelling, your metabolism, your heart rate, your body temperature, your joints, everything, constipation, your bowels, everything is tied to thyroid. So when we're talking about insulin and blood sugar regulation, if your thyroid is not functioning well, or maybe you have hypothyroidism, you were diagnosed, you're on T4 only, and that's just not working because it's not going to. T4 only
Oh,
just doesn't work, FYI. So let's say you know you have a thyroid problem or you don't, and you're moving through those symptoms, and you wait, what were we talking about? I just totally lost track because I'm like, wait a minute, I'm so focused on what the hell question am I answering?
thyroid's impact on insulin, blood
Blood
sugar,
sugar,
like why
insulin.
we will gain weight, and that how could in midlife from thyroid.
That's right. So that's where I was going. You're moving through the symptoms, and then you have to think about, okay, what else is maybe contributing to that weight gain? Well, the thyroid controls your blood sugar regulation and your insulin. We know that insulin resistance can also pack on weight. It's almost like you shift into fat storage mode instead of fat burning mode when you're insulin resistant. Well, is it that you're eating too many carbohydrates, or is it that your thyroid is off? And we always have to look to the thyroid as the master gland controlling everything below it. So yes, insulin, cholesterol, even your sex hormones. I mean, your sex hormones are still going to go down as we age. No one's getting out of that. Like we're all, if you live long enough, you're going through perimenopause and then menopause. But how how much of a hit do your hormones have to take? How soon do you actually go through menopause? The thyroid can have some control over that because we'll see even low progesterone levels in women in their 20s. Maybe they have PCOS, they have heavy cycles, now they have trouble conceiving, they have miscarriages. Well, the thyroid plays a role there. If the thyroid is not working properly or you're walking around with undiagnosed hypothyroidism, you are at a much greater chance of infertility and miscarriages. And yes, it has an impact on progesterone, the gestation hormone. It has an impact on that as well. So it's that direct impact on fertility, indirect impact on your sex hormones as well.
Yeah. Yep. I actually know of several women who were having fertility issues until they got their thyroid diagnosed properly, got on thyroid medication, and just like that, they got pregnant.
hmm Yeah, I
So,
know. I always joke. I'm like, I
absolutely.
got two women pregnant. You know, it's
Yeah.
like,
Well, yeah. But we don't look at the thyroid, especially when it comes to fertility or menopause. It's like we think that they're all working in a silo and all the hormones are working together. And so it is going to impact all of these things, which is going to then impact the thyroid. Like it goes back and forth, right? So thyroid is going to affect progesterone, but progesterone will also affect the thyroid function. And so we have
Mhm.
to start looking at this from the whole picture, which doctors are not doing. And so I want to go back to the basics, Amie, and I want you to talk to the listeners like they're the first time ever hearing about how to manage thyroid. And I wanted to do this because just this week, I had a woman contact me. She's a family member. And she said, can you take a look at my labs? Like I really feel like there's something wrong here, but they're not willing to look past TSH. And my doctor said my TSH is normal, but I have a feeling that this isn't normal. And her TSH was 4.8. And she's got all the symptoms of hypothyroidism. She doesn't feel good. And she said, I asked them if they would test more, but they won't because they said my TSH is normal. And so please give us the overview again of one, what are we asking our doctors to test for? And just because they say they can't test it, especially if you're in Canada, please note that you can Get the doctor to still put it on the labs. But when you go to the labs, you have to say, I am going to pay for the free T3 and the free T4, because they're not going to test it. If your TSH is in range, the government says to these doctors, they can't, in these labs, you cannot test the free T3, even if they've put it down on the test. They won't test it if TSH comes back in range.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So I just learned something there. So if you are Canadian, you can still have the doctor write everything on your lab. And then when you go, okay, this is good to know, because I know that's a huge problem, especially reverse
Huge.
T3. It's like non-existent up there. I don't
Yep.
even understand,
They have to
but if you
send it
can
to
pay out of
California.
pocket, okay,
There's
okay,
not even
that's
a
why.
lab that will test reverse T3.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're talking about here, going back to the basics for all you folks, and it's great to go back to the basics, because you are 100% right. There are women being diagnosed every single day, and it's like we have to backtrack and go, okay, we got you. Let's start here. So when you're getting tested, TSH, like you mentioned, TSH is a brain hormone. It's not a thyroid hormone. It's released by your brain to stimulate, it's called thyroid stimulating hormone, stimulate the thyroid to produce more thyroid hormone. It's like poking. It's like yelling at your kid, like, "Come on, let's go. We got to clean your room." So the louder or the higher TSH goes, the louder it's screaming at your thyroid to do its job. So that's good. We look at that. And in the case of your family member, I mean, a 4.8, that to me is screaming. To conventional medicine, depending on what that lab value range is, here in the US, it goes up to 4.5. So she would actually be flagged high if she tested here. But that is like the thyroid, or the brain is screaming at the thyroid because it's not producing enough thyroid hormone. So right there, we like TSH below a 2. In functional medicine, that's going to be your optimal. It's going to be less than 2. But even if it's less than 2, we don't dismiss you. We don't say, okay, your TSH is optimal, so we're just going to stop here and not look any further. No, we want to continue looking further. So we look at free T4. And free T4 is the inactive thyroid hormone. So we're looking at the free version, meaning unbound. And that free T4 is inactive. You don't have a receptor site anywhere for T4. It has to become T3. It loses an iodine atom from it, and it becomes T3. Now it's active. Now it's in its right form to attach to your cell, to give you a metabolism, to grow your hair, to light your brain up, to let you poop every day. All the things that the thyroid does, it takes T3 to do that. So with free T4, and I know this gets a little bit, not controversial, but I think too many influencers out there, if they're talking about the thyroid, they'll just post their optimal labs and they'll be like, free T4, we want it like 1.5 to 1.8. I jump in and I go, no, which is more like the upper quadrant of the range. And I go, no, you actually don't. Because whenever I see a free T4 above like a 1.3, I immediately in my mind start guessing what the reverse T3 will be. And I'll explain that in a minute. Too high of a free T4 is always going to equal an elevated reverse T3. For the new people, they're like, what? Okay, here's what I mean. T4, we just said inactive. It sits at a crossroads. It has to decide, am I going to become T3, the active thyroid hormone, or am I going to become something called reverse T3, the anti-thyroid hormone? That is your survival mechanism. Basically, it's your hibernation hormone. It puts your body into hibernation mode. So it has to decide. Sometimes it will go down the right path. Sometimes it'll go down the wrong path. If you are a person that is on T4 only, levothyroxine, Synthroid, Tirosint, that's it. Your doctor won't give you T3. They won't give you natural desiccated thyroid. You are on T4 monotherapy. Chances are that, we all have issues converting. So chances are, we're going to struggle converting that T4 to T3, and that can push up reverse T3. When we add on what doctors classically do, oh, Karen, you're not feeling good on that 88 micrograms of Synthroid. Let me give you 125. Oh, we'll take it to 150 and you'll feel much better. And you actually start to feel worse. And I know this happened to you. You actually start to feel worse. So this is where we have to jump down and we go, all right, now let's look at the active thyroid hormone free T3. How much of that do you have in your body ready to attach to the cells? We do want that in the upper quadrant of the range. And now let's look at that reverse T3, that pesky little hibernation hormone. We want that less than 12. If it's over 12, that's where we start seeing issues with conversion. And I think, or correct me if I'm wrong, so I have a question for you. You actually felt, I'm using air quotes, felt that reverse T3 even before it hit a 12, right? Or was yours over 12?
Mine was that I don't even think oh no, I did have it tested through my naturopath. I think it was at 15. He put me
Okay.
on desiccated thyroid, which we'll get to what this is, but it's a combination of T4, T3. If you don't get T4 only, some doctors, especially functional doctors, will be open to putting you on desiccated T4, T3. I was put on that. It was like the lights went on for the first time ever in my life. And I dropped weight that first month. I was like, finally, I found the answer. I feel amazing. It was the thyroid. And then a couple weeks later, I suddenly started packing on weight. My skin got super itchy. I was like, I couldn't get off my couch. I was severely depressed, and I'm not a depressed person. And I'm like, what is happening? I ended up eventually going, let's test my labs. Maybe I need more thyroid hormone. And my reverse T3 had gone from 15 to 19, which is still in range. And that's what was happening, is my body was converting the T4 to reverse T3, not to T3. And the balance became unbalanced, and all the brakes were put on my metabolism.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, you were truly over that 12 cutoff. I know we know some women, and I'm one of them. I'll feel reverse T3 before it hits a 12. So if you give me any amount of T4, it's going to start to push the reverse, but I'll actually go hypo before it shows on paper. So reverse T3, vital marker, has to be tested every single time you do a thyroid panel. Never, ever leave it off. But also know that when you're looking at it, just because it is below a 12, again, this is where personalized medicine comes in. We still have to go like, well, how do you feel on that natural desiccated thyroid or on that T4, T3 combo that we have you on? You know, if you're feeling still hypo, then we have to look a little bit deeper. But in general, reverse T3, we want less than 12. And then we want to test for Hashimoto's. We want to look at TPO and TGA antibodies, thyroid peroxidase, thyroglobulin. We want those at 0. You know, I know the standard lab value range, especially down here in the States, less than 9, less than 34. So if you come in with a 20, you still have 20 antibodies that are going out attacking your thyroid. So we ultimately want those antibody markers at 0.
Yes. Okay, so there's your lab panel, ladies. Now, you were talking about how you can identify if there's a reverse T3 problem. And I want you to talk about that, because in Canada, like we just discussed, you can't even get reverse T3 unless a naturopath actually specializes like on the thing that, okay, we're going to order this and you pay out of pocket for it and it'll get done. So most women don't have access. The doctors don't even know what it is. Like if you were to say, can you test my reverse T3? They'd be like, oh, what's that?
Yeah.
And so, and even in our standard lab panel that we do in our HRT clinic, we don't actually include reverse T3 because we try and keep it to a minimum unless they're in one of our advanced programs. So in our general, just as or very simple lab panel, we do free T3 and free T4. What are we looking for that will tell us that there's a reverse T3 problem in those two markers?
Oh yeah, I love this because we can totally reverse engineer. So if we look at that free T4 and it is over, I would say like a 1.2, 1.3, that's where you kind of start scratching your head. So let's say a woman comes in and we'll use scenarios. She's on 88 micrograms of levothyroxine or Synthroid, T4 only. And we're looking at that free T4, and it's like a 1.5, a 1.6, but you can't get the reverse T3. You don't know. Automatically, with that elevated free T4, you start to go, I bet her reverse is high. It's showing too much T4 in the body here. Okay, so let's look at the free T3 too. Now here's where it gets a little tricky. So free T3 can be high or low. So if you have that slightly, I'll call it elevated. It's not going to be flagged high on your labs, but it's elevated for us. So you have that slightly elevated free T4. Then you look at the free T3. If you're looking at a woman who has symptoms and that free T3 is in the upper quadrant of the range or over, don't automatically go, oh, well, it's fine because she has enough of that active thyroid hormone. No, here's what can happen. Something called pooling can occur where you're taking T4. You might even be taking natural desiccated thyroid medication with a little bit of T3. You can be taking T4 and T3 together. So this applies in all scenarios. When you look at that elevated free T4 and you look at that elevated free T3, you start to go, there's a backup in the system because she should not be having symptoms with a free T3 that pretty. It looks optimal. Should not be having symptoms right now. Has to be a reverse T3 problem. And what can happen is when reverse T3 goes up high enough, it creates almost like a dam at the cell. Like you picture water flowing and then you got the dam and the water can't flow past the dam. There's enough water over here in the reservoir, but it's not getting past the dam. There's enough T3 floating in your blood and it's getting picked up when we draw the blood out of your body, but it's not actually getting to the cell to do its job. So we can see that scenario. Or we can just see the classic low free T3 where we go, okay, this person is on too much T4, has too much T4 in her body. It's just building up. It's not converting to T3. That's why she has a 2.6 for a free T3 level. And it's on the low end of the normal standard lab value range scale. So what do we need to do in either of those scenarios? Lower the T4 dose and add in T3. Or if they're on NDT, lower the NDT dose because that's still 80% T4, just like you experienced. You got better, then got worse. I had the same thing. Lower the NDT dose, add in T3. So that's one way that you can kind of reverse engineer, biohack, not having a reverse T3. Look at that pattern between free T4 and free T3. Look at the person's symptoms, and then you overlay it. Now, again, if you have somebody that's like, I feel like a rock star, I'm living my best life, then you can just kind of look at those labs and go, oh, okay, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to leave it alone because what you're saying to me is that you feel great. So we're not going to rock the boat here. But if you have symptoms, then that means we need to change something up.
We're going to get a little bit more granular here because there's a lot of women that are being treated for thyroid, hypothyroidism with T4 and T3. And so let's say this woman, she did have an elevated reverse T3, or she's looking at her labs and her free T4, I'm just going to go with not so much numbers, but in where it is on the range. So let's say it's middle of the range T4, but the free T3 is in the bottom of the range. And so there's definitely a disconnect. We're not converting that T4. We see that. At what point do you completely eliminate the T4? And why would you completely eliminate the T4? Because what I see happening is women will lower the desiccated, like you said, or they lower their T4 amount and they'll increase the T3. And then there seems to be this place where now that T3 is actually suppressing free T4 and TSH. So suppressing as in they start to come back on the labs flagged low. And so it looks on the labs like, oh, there's lots of T3, but now these two are flagged, danger zone. That's what the doctors will say. Oh, your TSH is suppressed. And women freak out and they still ask me this. I bet you at least a few times a month in my Q&As, in my group coaching calls, a woman will come to me with labs to say, my doctor's freaking out, or they're freaking out going, oh, I think I need T4. My TSH is suppressed and my T4 is suppressed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we get the same thing. Same thing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll even get patients. And I'm like, you're literally our patient. Like, we got you, but I will let you know. Exactly. And I always let them know. I'm like, yeah, that's what my labs look like too. So I am T3 only. So my TSH is non-existent. It's like 0.000 something. Because we always have to go back to the science. We always have to go back to biology and what is happening in our body. So, and this is where I think doctors actually forget science, or they don't just take a minute and think through the process. So TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, it is a brain hormone. Think of it as like a barometer. It's going, is there enough thyroid hormone in the body to run this thing? Yeah. Okay, we're going to quiet down. So naturally, when it sees T3, even if you're on a baby dose of T3, quite frankly, even if you're on a crap ton of T4, it will do this. And doctors do this every day to people, and then they don't grasp the whole biochemistry cascade. So when you have enough thyroid hormone in the body, even if it's not the right dose for you, like you're not optimized, but you're taking thyroid hormone replacement, the TSH is going to go down. Any amount of T3 is going to push that TSH down. It's just going to happen. Now we move over to the T4 and T3. If you have more T3 than T4, so let's say you're on a lower dose of T4 or a lower dose of NDT, but we're adding in some liothyronine, you're taking that in the mix too. You are naturally going, is T3, you're naturally going to have that profile of a lower free T4 number. And then hopefully, if you do have a lower free T3, we're still building that up to where the free T3 will eventually look good. It'll be optimal. But yeah, your reverse T3 will be incredibly low, maybe flagged low. Your free T4 will be low, maybe flagged low. Your TSH will most likely be flagged low. And guess what? We don't care. Because again, we have to look at, what are you taking? What does your body do with it? Now, that lab picture is a totally different scenario if someone isn't on thyroid medication. So yeah, if you have let's say you have a low TSH, an elevated free T3, and usually also an elevated free T4, and you feel hyper, you're jittery, you're anxious, you're not sleeping, your eyes are itchy, you may or may not be losing weight, then you're moving to hyper. And now we do look at that TSH differently. But it's all, and this is just the perfect example of why the thyroid is nuanced and why we need personalized medicine and why there's no one size fits all, because there's really not.
No. And so at that point, Amie, would you, I just feel like if that's what is showing on a woman's labs that's on T4, T3, is there any point at that point to even include T4 medication?
I get that question too.
Is it not just a waste of money?
Yes and no. So there are people that are truly T3 only. And for them, I'm one of them. I mean, we have to respect that. Are you T3 only?
Yes.
So you and I both take T3 only. I don't think Elle Russ does. I think she was, and now she's added in T4, which we can totally talk about how to do that. But when you are truly T3 only, you need that. And when you add in T4, you will go hypo. So let's say, you have that woman who we've narrowed it down. We have this smaller dose of T4 in the mix, 25 micrograms, 12.5 micrograms maybe. And it's just still not happening. She's not getting over that hump into optimization land. So what I'll do is I'll say, okay, let's pull the T4. Just let's try it out. Let's see how you do. So we pull that T4, give it time on T3 only, and let's say she gets better. Like the light starts turning on, like things are getting good here. And then I go, okay, so hang out there for a little bit. Now, what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to add in that 12.5 micrograms or that 25 micrograms of T4. We're just going to do a trial run. You're going to add it in once a day. Pay attention to your body. Pay attention and report back to me. If any hypo symptoms start to occur, report back. If you make it a couple of weeks and you're like, yeah, nothing, I'm good. I feel about the same as when I started. Okay, then we'll leave it in. Because by leaving it in, it gives you a savings account. It gives you some money in the bank to pull from when you need. But also, at the same time, don't panic if you don't have a savings and you have to live off your checking, i.e. T3 only. It doesn't matter either way. There's not a good or a bad or a better or a best. It's whatever is going to work for you. But the reason why we try to add it back in is because sometimes people will just need T3 only for a bit to get their body out of that hibernation mode, to push down the reverse T3, just to chill them out. And then all of a sudden we can add that T4 back in. Sometimes, like in my case, because I tried this, you'll add it back in, and in a week you'll gain 10 pounds and become clinically depressed. And then you know
What
you
happened to
probably
me
shouldn't,
too.
right? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
this isn't a good
I
idea.
tried.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same. So that's, and I read about that in the book. Sometimes it is trial and error. Sometimes you can't even go by the reverse T3, because that's what I was saying. When I add in T4, listen, my reverse T3 is like less than 5. It doesn't even register. But if you gave me T4 today, by next week, I'm going to gain weight and be depressed. But my reverse T3 probably will only go to like a 7. Like, it's still going to be
Right.
okay. It's going to take a while, but that T4 action on my body is not good. And I know it before it shows in the labs.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I've always wanted to know why you would put it back in. Like, is this a waste? Because it's just because there's so much T3 coming in, that T4 is going down, TSH is going down. It's like, it's not registering. It's like, well, what's the point of even taking this then? But, I like what you said there. And I've heard too that and you can tell me if this is totally wrong, because I don't even know where I got it from. But at some point I read that T4 is better for hair, skin, and nails. I don't know why. Because it's inactive, but so I don't know how that's possible. I have to look that. I gotta look at that and see where the heck
I'm going to have to look that up. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And, I think for anxious people too, when you have that woman, maybe she's not on progesterone yet and she needs to be, and she's just more anxious. And then you give her
Yeah.
T3 only. It can sometimes, it's almost like T4 comes in as like a buffer, just to kind of like help with the impact of T3, because T3 is stimulating. It works quickly. That's why we take it twice a day, because it peaks at 4 hours and then drops, peaks at 4 hours and then drops. It's still in your body. It's not totally gone after 8 hours, but it's pretty much like trickled out. Whereas T4 is just slow act. It's like that tortoise and the hare. It's slow acting in your body. It's still there a week later. So it's almost like it kind of like buffers the action of T3 a little bit in some people.
I remember Elle saying to me back in the day, when she trained me a lot on thyroid, and she was my thyroid coach when I was going through this. And I remember her saying, if we can add in T4, we always should, because it's more stable. And I was like, and that's exactly what you just said, right? Like T3 it's fast acting, it's up, it's down. It's also a pain in the butt compared to T4. You got to take it sometimes multiple times a day, unless you're Amie, who takes it all in one dose, which I think there's few and far between when it comes to women that take it. Yeah, don't you take it twice, just once a day?
No, I take it twice.
Oh, okay. I thought you took it all at once. Yeah, I do twice a day as well. I have to take it in the afternoon. And I feel it. Like, afternoon kind of comes around and you go through the afternoon slump, and I can start to notice, like, I get this weird feeling in my system, and it's like, oh, I got to take my thyroid medication, my T3, and I take it, and it brings the lights back on again. And so I do, like, it's more unstable compared to T4. And so I could see that okay, if we can put some T4 in and your body does okay with it, we should have it in there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. And I would say T3 only like 10 to 20% of the population with hypothyroidism require T3 only. I don't see it like a major
No.
epidemic. It's I would say about 20%.
Yeah. What about dosage? Because this is where, once again, a lot of practitioners are going wrong. They're under prescribing medication. And something that I've always so appreciated about you, Amie, was you know how to dose medication. Like you're the best of the best when it comes to this is how much you actually need. The doctors get so afraid of T3 dosing, of even desiccated thyroid. T4, the handout, like you were saying, like, oh, you need 120, here you go. But when it comes to desiccated and T3 only, they're very, very reserved. And so it'll be like, here's your 30 milligrams of desiccated thyroid. A woman starts taking it, she feels good for a couple weeks and is like, oh my God, like I did. It's like, oh, this feels so good. I feel it. And then suddenly they feel worse and they're like, all my symptoms are coming back. I'm gaining weight again after 3 to 4 weeks. And the doctors, you go and you test the labs and your numbers are sometimes worse than when you before you were put on the medication. So what is
Mhm.
happening? And tell us why we need physiological replacement of thyroid in order to be optimized. It's not just a little bit to top your own up. What is happening?
Yes, yeah, and it's the same concept with hormones. So it's like you dosing hormones, you just know, and it's physiological dosing of the hormones to get your levels to where we want them and get you feeling better. It's the same thing with thyroid. So I talk about this in the book where baby doses do more harm than good. What I mean by that is exactly what Karen said. That doctor that is like, okay, I'll give you some T3. Here's 5 micrograms or maybe 5 twice a day. The thyroid is so
You're
nuanced. I'm
lucky.
going to say it over and over and over if you're lucky. If you're lucky. It's so nuanced. It is so nuanced. So I get asked, what's your favorite thyroid medication? And I say the one that works for you and the combination that works for you and the dose that works for you. That's my favorite because there's no one size fits all. So with T3, so many of these practitioners and even thyroid practitioners, like, they have a cap on how much T3 they will give. I'm like, okay, so this person comes into your office and you, let's say, cap it at 20 micrograms, 30 micrograms, but that person needs 50, or they're like me that needs 100 micrograms, or they're like my other patient that actually needs 100 twice a day. And that's where she
Wow.
is optimized. She's a tiny little thing, but she needs more. Thyroid medication is not dosed by weight. It is dosed by need and your unique physiology. So when we're talking about baby doses, what ends up happening is you take that 30 milligrams of Armour or you take that 5 micrograms of T3 and it sends a signal back to your hypothalamus and pituitary because every hormone has that negative feedback loop where you're essentially you're going to shut down your own production of that hormone. But most of the time we don't care because you weren't doing a good job at making it anyways. Let's take
Yes.
testosterone in a man. Okay, so his testosterone is a 200. Are we going to shut down his gonads by giving him testosterone? Yep, because it was a shitty employee anyways. We got to get rid of him. So we don't care that we're shutting down his own production. It's like we don't care about firing the bad employee because we're going to replace that person with a good employee. We're going to replace the testosterone with enough testosterone to get the job done. We're going to replace thyroid hormone with enough thyroid hormone to run your body. But if we give you just a little bit, it is going to shut down whatever crappy job your thyroid was doing in the first place, but at least it was spitting out something. Now it's just going to stop. It's just like, it's not going to give you anything. So now instead of, let's say, I'm using total hypothetical numbers here. Let's say your thyroid was pumping out, I don't know, 50 micrograms of T3 every day and like 150 micrograms of T4 every day. That's totally made up, by the way. Don't hang your hat on that. And now you take that 5 micrograms of T3 and your thyroid goes, oh, All right, well, I guess we don't have to make this anymore. And maybe it spits out like 10 micrograms of T3 and like 25 micrograms of T4 because you're replacing it with 5. Well, does that math for you? No. Now you're only getting 20, what did I say? 25 or 10 micrograms of T3 plus the 5 you're taking. Now you're only getting 15 where you were getting 50 before. You're shutting down your own production. So now you have exactly what you said. It's going to show up lower on the labs. Now you look worse and you feel worse. Well, yeah, because now your thyroid isn't even working on its own.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. I see this all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
And that goes back to functional medicine. These practitioners basically using the term functional as the marketing word. There's a lot. Well, first of all, there's a lot of MDs and DOs that slap on the term functional to get out of the insurance-based model, especially here in the US, and to be able to charge you. But they still practice conventionally. They're still practicing in their allopathic model, but now they're just charging instead of taking your insurance. But then you have the functional practitioners that are, I call them jacks of all trades, masters of none, where they're like, we do thyroid, we do hormones, we do adrenal, we do gut, we do EBV, we do mold, we do Lyme disease. We're good at everything. Are you? How can you be good at everything? Nobody can be good at everything. You need to master something and be really, really good at that one thing. And that's why I always tell people, like, when you want to do your hormones, you go to a hormone specialist like Karen. You don't just go to functional medicine that does everything because you're going to get screwed over. You really are. Yeah. You're going to pay the money. Yeah. And then you're still going to be treated because they don't know it like the back of their hand. They don't live and breathe it. And that's what you need is somebody that lives and breathes it.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to give people like hard numbers, like, because everybody's an individual, like you said. However, could we give the listeners a general range of dosage that you see in the like that you're giving out the most of in that kind of, how progesterone is like, oh, it's typical to give between 100 and 200 of oral progesterone.
Yeah.
When it comes to, so T4, we're just going to take off the table because I will tell you right now, and Amie will tell you right now, very few women, I think I've met maybe 1 or 2 women in my time of doing this that actually did fine on T4 only. So we're going to just take that one off the table. So we're talking desiccated and T3 only. Do you have a standard that you seem to always be like, oh, this is where women tend to feel their best is on this amount? Like if it's between 50 and 75 or 60 and and I want women to hear this because there's such an issue with under medicating hypothyroid patients and them giving a desiccated thyroid in the 30 milligrams. I don't know if I've ever seen 30 milligrams. I think every single time I've seen it actually make their thyroid numbers worse.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, you're right.
So is there like a bottom of the barrel that you want to, desiccated is normally what?
Yep. And so in general, so yes, you'll always have those outliers. You'll always have like the top outliers, like the patient I just said that's on 200. That's a high dose. It's a higher dose. I wouldn't say, that's rare. Okay. And then you're going to have that random hypersensitive woman that like she's sensitive to a drop of progesterone and you give her a, half of a 0.0375 patch and she gains water. But, you're always going to have those people, right? That's going to be your woman that's optimized on like 5 micrograms of T3, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the rest of us. So we're talking about the bell curve, right? We're going back to school. We're talking about the bell curve. I would say for natural desiccated thyroid, anything under 60 milligrams a day is unacceptable. And yes, I would prefer, I would prefer higher than that, but I would say 60 is the bare bones starting point. And that's going to be 30 milligrams twice a day. So 60 milligrams. And then up to whatever. I mean, we have some patients, I would say up to like 180, 220. Once you start getting higher in the 200s, again, you start to worry about that reverse T3 because natural desiccated thyroid is 80% T4. and
Yeah.
only 20% T3 roughly. So once you start going higher on that curve with NDT, I don't know about that. That's going to start impacting reverse. So I would say 60 to like 180 is a nice sweet spot for NDT. Now remember, with NDT, we can also add T3 into the mix and change that ratio. T3, anything under 20 micrograms a day, I'm going to say is my lowest. 10 twice a day. 20. Do I have a, and even, and we're talking like, the bell curve, we're talking the lower end. So do I have like 3 to 5 patients that are optimized on 10 micrograms twice a day? Sure. And then we start going into the mass population. Then it becomes, okay, more likely 20 to 25 twice a day, 50 twice a day, and then we start going up. And then once you hit that 200 twice or 100 twice a day, 200 microgram mark, that's on the high end. So yeah, bottom of the barrel for T3 dosing, whether you're doing T3 only or you're pairing it up with T4, we can still say anything less than 20 micrograms a day would be a baby dose.
Yep. Yep. Perfect. That's what I want people to know, just so that you guys can have a baseline. And obviously, this is the kind of stuff that you're talking about in your book, I'm guessing, about like just like what you're looking for as far as ranges and where you want to get your labs to, what tends to be optimal. But you really, with thyroid, I think it's so important. You really got to go by symptoms. You really, really do, because like Amie said earlier, you could show that you have lots of T3. You could be taking T3 and be like, well, I'm taking 50 micrograms of T3. My labs look great, but yet I'm still so hypo. I'm depressed. I'm still gaining weight. I still have the hair loss, whatever the symptoms. And so maybe you're somebody that's, pooling your T3, or it's not getting into the cell. We don't know. We can't see inside. And so then you got to be able to go, okay, let's see. And I remember doing this with myself. I had a great doctor that I worked with at that point, a naturopath, that was like, whatever you want, you get. And so I said, okay, well, I want to increase my T3. I was going off of Stop the Thyroid Madness website, which is where, she put in clinical experience and what she had heard from hypothyroid patients over a large amount of time, decades of working with hypothyroid patients. And I remember her writing, most women feel their best, or most hypothyroid patients feel their best between 50 and 75 micrograms of T3 only. And so I remember having that in my head and going, okay, I'm at 50. Could I feel better? And I moved it up to 75 and I felt better. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to move it to 100. Do I still feel better? And I didn't. I moved it to 150, felt no different than how I felt at 75. So I dropped back down to 75.
Nice.
But
okay.
I just luckily had somebody that was willing to work with me with it. And so you may have to take matters into your own hands, or find a good practitioner like Amie to work with that understands that understands that we have to base this on how you're feeling.
Right.
Okay. Nutrients that go with this, because once again, the thyroid depends on so many factors to be functioning properly. And one of your products that I love and I probably promote more than anyone else's product, is your T2 supplement. So we've talked about T3, T4, reverse T3, TSH. What the heck is T2?
Yeah, I love T2. So
I
T2,
know, so do I.
forgotten thyroid hormone. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
Forgotten thyroid hormone, because we don't talk about it enough. We talk about T4, we talk about T3. We don't talk about T2. My theory is because it's not a pharmaceutical, because your doctor can't write a script for it, because there's no actual test at LabCorp for it. So it only comes in supplement form, and hence Thyroid Fixer and Metabolism Fixer. But T2, when you look at it, has over 30 years of research on it. And what it does is it increases your basal metabolic rate, your metabolism, your fat burning while you are just sitting on the couch. It literally increases the amount of calories that you are burning at rest. So right there, that's awesome. It browns white adipose tissue. So the white adipose tissue, that's your visceral fat. That's basically the squishy fat that you're grabbing, going, I hate my love handles here. I want to get rid of these. That's white fat. So we want to brown the white fat, because when we do that, something happens called UCP. It's uncoupling proteins. And UCP, when you uncouple proteins and you brown that white adipose tissue, you are more metabolically active. It produces heat in the body. It produces that burning of your stored body fat. T2 also reduces inflammation. It largely helps convert T4 to T3. So that's a huge helper in that conversion process. If you are on T4 only, or if you're on NDT and you're still struggling a little bit, you have elevated reverse T3, T2 will help with that conversion. And the other thing it does that it recently came out in studies is that it turns on a gene that prevents fat accumulation. So it literally is preventing fat from accumulating on your butt or your hips or your thighs. If you want it in your butt, keep it there. But like your abdomen and your hips and your thighs. So it's preventing that fat from accumulating on your body, which is really, really cool. And again, it's available in supplemental form. So if you are listening to this and you're on the struggle bus, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get my doctor to listen and add in T3. They already told me that T3 causes heart attacks and bone loss, which it doesn't. Then add in T2, because you'll get a tiny bump in your T3, but most importantly, you're going to get an improvement in your symptoms. And again, that's what we're going for. We're going for the fat loss. It increases your energy. We're going for increased energy. We're going for decreased inflammation. So if you can improve your symptoms while still kind of chipping away and working at your doctor, then so be it. Let's do it.
Yes. And will T2 work for somebody that doesn't have hypothyroidism? Like, will it just help just in general to raise metabolic rate?
Yeah. And it will do this without shutting down. It doesn't have that negative feedback loop that we talked about earlier. So it's not going to shut down your own thyroid production. So I might have mentioned this in a previous episode, but I'll say it again. There was this really cool interview I saw a couple years ago, and it was one of the trainers to like bodybuilding pros, your fitness, your figure athletes, mainly women. He trained women. And he's like, I don't let my women use T3 because the reality is bodybuilders will use anything to lose weight. They used to take like some kind of like bug killer because it increased uncoupling protein and thermogenesis. So yes, bodybuilders will take T3 to burn body fat because that's what it does. It's a stimulant. It's going to burn body fat. He goes, I don't let my athletes use T3 because of the negative feedback loop. They'll come out the other side of the show with a thyroid problem. And now they're like 30, 40 pounds heavier than they were before they started. And because it burns both muscle and fat. So that's the thing with T3, it increases everything. So it's going to burn muscle and it is going to burn fat. T2 doesn't, it leaves muscle alone. So it only targets body fat and it doesn't have that negative feedback loop. And he flat out said, he's like, I use T2 with my athletes because it doesn't produce a thyroid problem at the end of the show, and it's supplemental form, so they don't have to get it from the black market. That's a bonus. But yeah, that is the power of T2. I found that fascinating.
I find too, it's a clean energy. So it's not one of those things that I take and I feel jittery and hyped up and I, can't sleep and it's nothing like that. It's a very clean energy boost and brain clarity, like where I take it pre-workout in the mornings. I love the taste of the metabolism fixer one. And I just mix that with some electrolytes and it's like the perfect little cocktail in my eyes. So I'm going to put that in the link to that in the show notes, you guys. So you want to give it a try, you can get 10% off. So I'll put that link in the show notes with everything else. Okay, the other one that I wanted to question you about, which is such a debated supplement, iodine.
Yep.
I just had somebody say it to me today. The girl that just interviewed me, she's like, I was going to take iodine, but then I was told that maybe that's not always good for thyroid patients. And I'm like, I'm not even going to get into this.
Seriously.
I'm not the expert on it. So
we have to go back to the science once again. So yes, there are There are practitioners out there saying no iodine. There are books written that
Mhm.
say avoid iodine foods. But I just scratch my head and I go, wait a minute. Okay, wait. Let's go back to biology. Let's go back to science. Every cell in the body needs iodine. Especially the endocrine organs. So that's your thyroid, your breast, prostate, uterus, ovaries, all the reproductive organs. They all need iodine. They all need it. Our body needs it for antiviral activity. It's huge when it comes to viruses. I mean, it has supported my immune system through all the travel I've been doing. Knock on wood, I haven't gotten sick in a couple of years. So iodine, I take it every single day. Iodine is very antiviral. We also know that it competes for toxic halide receptors, meaning, let's look at the periodic table of elements, 7th grade chemistry. And when
That's
you
not.
look at that, right? We're
I'm
going
just kidding.
back.
I hate
Going
that.
back.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I
The
hated
periodic
chemistry.
table. Oh,
Hated
yeah,
it.
okay. Yeah.
Hated it. But I know this one part. This is the only thing I know. I know this one part. I know that iodine is right next to fluoride or
Fluoride.
fluorine, depending on their halogen halide family marker. Then you have chlorine or chloride, bromine, bromide, and then we have iodine, iodide. So when we look at those toxic halides, and they are toxic, they're very toxic to your thyroid, and they're quite frankly toxic to the rest of your body. They compete at a cell receptor. So this receptor site on your cell will gladly accept fluoride from your toothpaste or your drinking water, chlorine from your drinking water, bromide from baked goods, carpets, clothing, furniture, your lawn, it's everywhere. It will gladly accept that unless there's enough iodine in the system. So iodine will come along and displace those toxic halides and push them out. You'll detox them out of your body. If you don't have enough iodine, guess what's winning? So just based on that premise alone, how can we say to not take iodine? Now, why did it get a bad reputation? I truly believe it's from practitioners just overdose, like not knowing what they're doing and overdosing patients, just starting them on too high of a dose to where, yeah, you can get a thyroid storm, you can go hyper. You can if you start too high, you can feel awful. You can even go hypo if you take too high of a dose for your body. But I always tell my people just start number one, start with a liquid form. Don't get a hard tablet capsule. You want to be able to control every single drop that you take. So you get a liquid form of iodine, put it in a small amount of water, 1 drop, first day, boom. Next day, 2 drops, small amount of water, slam it down. Make sure you're drinking salt. Make sure you're taking vitamin C. Third day, 3 drops, boom, slam it down. And pay attention to your body. And as soon as you kind of tip that scale into one of those days where you're like, did I drink 5 cups of coffee this morning?
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little bit jittery. So if you feel that way, just back off to the last dose that you were on the day before. And yes, you can add in more salt. If you don't like that feeling, like add in salt, add in some vitamin C, that'll kind of chill you out and negate the iodine effects. But just drop back your dose. I mean, it really is that simple. You're not going to do harm. You're not going to send yourself into a thyroid storm if you go low and slow.
Yeah. And it's extremely breast protective, iodine, and it's also great to help your body to metabolize your estrogen. So you're going to get
Hmm.
multiple effects here from the iodine. And the majority of people are iodine deficient.
Hmm.
And so I think most of us can handle some iodine.
Yes.
And that's what I
Yes.
remember learning that from Dr. Brownstein.
I love Brownstein. And yeah, you're
Me
not gonna get it
too.
from salt too. You're not gonna get it from iodized salt. So,
Right.
that's important as well. And one thing, I would just listen to Dr. Brownstein and Lindsay Bergson's cancer talk they just did, and it reminded me, it also iodine will kick up the P53 protein, which is a tumor suppressive
Suppressing
protein.
gene. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. I didn't know that. See,
Yeah,
it's amazing. And so you have an iodine now,
I do.
right?
Iodine
Yes.
fixer.
It's new,
And I
right?
studied Yeah, it is because I studied this for 3 years to,
Yeah.
really get the right form because that's what everyone asked me. It's like, "Should I use this
Yeah.
form? Should I use that form?" What I have found, And I know Brownstein likes Lugol's, but when you really look at the thyroid community, nascent iodine is more bioavailable and it's more gentle. And really, the last thing you want to do to a thyroid patient is jack them through the roof and have them go like, "Oh my God, I'm so hyper right now." And with Lugol's, I actually overdosed myself and gained weight. So it's easy to overdose yourself on the potassium iodine iodide combo that is Lugol's. I like nascent. I like nascent iodine.
Great. Okay, so what can people expect from your book that just launched? So it is available, everybody. What are people going to find in that book?
Well, it's gonna blow your mind because it's unlike any other thyroid book out there. We've had many thyroid books released over the years, and really kind of going back, Stop the Thyroid Madness, that was probably the OG thyroid book that came out that really started shifting things and shifting the way that we look at thyroid treatment. And oh my God, somebody's talking about T3. But since then, everybody's been like, heal your thyroid naturally and just sprinkle some fairy dust on it, or all you need to do is heal your adrenals and you'll be fine. Or do my Hashimoto's food protocol and all will be well and you'll be good. No. So what this book isn't, I can tell you what it isn't, and then I'll tell you what it is. It's not a diet book. It's not a recipe book. It's not a workout book. It's not a fix your thyroid naturally book, because I live in the real world and I know what I see day to day. Now, if you want to fix your thyroid naturally and you're 20 years old, by all means, go and do that. There are ways, and I do have like it's not even a chapter. I think it's like a paragraph or two on what it really means to heal your thyroid naturally. Those are for the people, they're in the very beginning stages. Like we see like 10 antibodies and they're like, I'm a little tired. That's it. So yeah, for you, we can add in black cumin seed oil. You can go gluten-free. You'll be great. For the rest of us that are suffering, that's what I'm talking about. So this book is going to take you through everything, and it is going, I still say buy it for your doctor, but I also say that doctors' buttholes are going to pucker a little bit because I'm talking about medication. Oh my God, just like Janie Bowthorpe did. Oh my God, do we dare say someone add in T3? Is she actually teaching a lay person how to talk to their doctor and tell their doctor what dose they need to be on? Wow. Yes, I am. Yes, I'm teaching you how to read your own labs and how to know exactly what dose of thyroid medication you need. And I know because I've done this over and over again in the different programs that I have. I can teach you what thyroid medication and dose that you need, and you can learn it. I promise. You do not need to go to med school. You got this. So we go through that. And like I said, it's like a choose your own adventure book. So you're going through and you're like, ooh, okay, I'm here. So I'm going to go here. Yeah. Okay. That's what I need. Then we move into exactly how to find that doctor and what to ask. Now, this is going to be conventional or functional and integrative. I give you a list of questions that they must answer before you hand over any money, even a $20 copay. I don't care. You have to call and you have to ask these questions first. And no, it's not as simple. Online, you'll see somebody say like, call your local compounding pharmacy and get names of doctors. Yeah, you can, but you're still going to be narrowed down. And just because there's a compounding pharmacy in Erie, Pennsylvania, where I was born and raised, and there are 0 doctors in Erie, Pennsylvania that I would recommend anyone go to. So it can work in some cities and states. It's not going to work in every single one. So I give you a laundry list. Then I tell you how that conversation is going to go when you go into the office and exactly what to do and what to say. And that is going to put you in the best position. Does it work about 90% of the time? Yeah. 10%, you're still going to get the door slammed in your face and you're going to have to move on to doctor number 2 or doctor number 3 and then go into functional medicine. Yeah. But it gives you a fighting chance. It gives you a 90% more chance than what you have right now of getting exactly what you need for your body.
Wow. I can't believe I'm so excited, and I'm so glad that you wrote a book that isn't out there.
I know. I had to rock the boat a little bit. I mean, you know me. It's not going to be status quo. It's going to cause some kind of
No.
controversy. But yeah,
Well, we just don't need another book like that.
we don't.
Sorry, but we don't. Going back to what I said at the very beginning of this episode, we are no farther along, 10 years past when I was being diagnosed with hypothyroidism, we are no farther ahead. And if anything, we're behind. And so clearly, we need to take matters into our own hands. We have to advocate for ourselves. And this book is going to teach women how to do that, and men. Just mostly women listen to this show. So
It's mostly a woman's disease. I mean, yes, guys, we love you.
yeah,
I feel for you if you have Hashimoto's or hypothyroidism. I really do, because it's going to affect your sex hormones. But the reality is that women get hit way, way, way more often and way harder than men do with thyroid.
And if somebody is wanting to work with you, Amie, where do they find you? What do you have for them? And who do you service?
Absolutely. So you can go to dramie.com, DRAMIE.com. You can book a free call. We'll chat about your current health situation. We'll talk about what programs we can fit you into. But we do prescribe all 50 states. So got you covered. Got you covered. We're going to do right by your thyroid.
And when's your next Thyroid Fixer group program? Do you know?
Oh, Total Thyroid Fix. Well,
Total
depending on
Thyroid
when
Fix,
you
yeah.
launch this, we are actually launching it in conjunction with the book launch. So we're going to start it. It'll kick off again in June. So yeah, you and I need to talk about that. But yeah, we're kicking
And
off.
so,
there.
and can you just quickly tell the listeners what that is?
So Total
'Cause that's a
Thyroid
great
Fix.
program.
It's a great thank you. It's a great program. So Total Thyroid Fix is where, like how I said earlier, like I know that I can teach you how to read your labs and what meds you need because I've done it. That's the program. So I literally teach you in Total Thyroid Fix how to read your labs and what medication you need. And now we're adding on a prescribing option to it. So now you can actually get your meds. Where before we were giving self-sourcing information, or we were teaching you, how to talk to your doctor. This just adds on that one component, that hurdle of getting the meds. So now we have the prescribing component as well. So you're going to get everything you need in that Total Thyroid Fix course. Program.
Right, everyone. I'm going to put it.
Course. I hate
program
courses.
course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be in the show notes. Go buy the book. It's going to change your life, I think, as a hypothyroid patient. Oh my goodness. Thank you, my friend. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you so much for spreading the